Hi guys, another street lipo I picked up the other day, another Hayati Pro Max. This one's obviously been discarded because it may have been run over, but I'm guessing possibly it was dropped and the I was going to say fuel cell, the liquid container's cracked and it's leaked. If you saw the previous video of the Hayati Pro Max that I took apart, this bit you just pull out from inside. If you grab these pins, you can just pull it out, and that is the module that's got the battery on it and the circuit board. The circuit board's got a nice little display on it. That circular item there is the sensor that detects when you're sucking, and it sends battery power to these pins. Those pins go into this fella, into those two holes there, which go to the heater element inside. So that detects your sucking, it sends power through there, that goes through to the heater element heats up the liquid, and you get your vape. Anyway, the question I had the other day was, could we actually make use of these basically without much modification, so you can actually use the battery power? Now, if you just connect something to those two pins, and you can trigger this device in various ways, but you can actually put a switch on it to trigger it. That will only send power there for about 10 seconds. It's got a timer on it. What you actually want, if you wanted to use this so you could charge it up with a USB-C and then use the battery to power something else, well, I'll pull it apart a bit more so we can look a bit closer. But basically you don't want to use those two pins unless you only want a 10-second burst of power. Now, obviously, BigClive.com has done various teardowns on this sort of thing, but I keep directing people to Toy Hacker's channel, where he's actually made use of these sort of circuit boards. He's done a video explaining the sensor, how that works. So have a look in my video description. I'll put some links to his videos. This is held in place with a screw. Is this screwdriver small enough? Yeah, that'll do it. Is it just the one screw? I think it is. There we are. Ease it apart a bit. Which way is that going to come out? This way, I expect. Yeah. And that's going to go through that hole there. And then we got those two pins there. Right. What I'm thinking, and I'm not saying I know what I'm doing, I'm saying I am thinking that sensor, as I say, detects you sucking and then takes your battery power and sends it out here. So I'm just figuring out can we just intercept where the power goes into this and put some connectors on it to use to power whatever you want to power with it. I'll just run through it again. Clearly, USB-C in there. That chip there must be the one that's actually running the display, which is a pretty display. Oh, hang on. Let's get a power lead and show it working. Right, hopefully it's not too bright in here with the sunlight. Put this one in here. Actually, that does look a bit deformed. Oh, we'll find out when I plug it in. It might not work. That looks like it's actually been damaged. I might have to use the other one that I did the other day, which does still work. Yeah, this one's not going to work. That's been crushed. And it looks like it's been ripped off the board. Right, let's go back to the one I did the other day, which just happens to be here. So we pull that out. Oh, me putting a short circuit across there actually fired it up. Let's see if we can do that again. Yeah, there we go. Connect this one up. Well, this one's actually showing 100%, so it's not going to do anything. But if it was less than 100%, we'd actually see that little display going. Can we see the different colours? Yeah, it's just a rather nice little display there. And that's a bit disappointing that that one's crushed. But never mind, because all I really want off that one is the battery anyway. So let's put that to one side, chuck that in there, and we'll look at this one instead. So same again, undo that screw. Let's get that tape out of the way. Right. Undo one screw. Put that down through there. Right, okay. So back to what we were talking about. We ought to be able to figure out the power going into the sensor and maybe put connectors on there, because the sensor detects the sucking and then connects the power to here. We've got plus B and minus B for battery, and H plus and H minus for the heater element. So the white is the heater element minus, and the blue is the heater element plus. And then the black and the blue leads going in are obviously the battery in. What we want to see is on the other side. I can't imagine what W stands for, unless it's M. That'd make more sense, wouldn't it? M, N minus, and M plus. So, battery negative looks like it goes straight through to the M negative. Battery plus is on here. What I'm trying to work out is how it just switches the power through to here. I think I'm going to have to put a meter on it and have a look, see what we've got. But I'm guessing negative to negative is just common rail, straight through. plus is going to go in there and out again. Yeah, plus has got to be coming out on the M there, and then when the sensor senses stuff, it connects it through to there, I would think. So if we just want to use the battery as a power supply, I think we'd put a connector on the M minus and the M and disconnect the M plus because we don't need the detector circuit. Right, there's my meter. Can we see what we're doing? I would expect if I go on that pin and that pin, I would expect to get the full voltage. Not getting anything. Which might be my... let's go on the... I'm having trouble with the leads on this meter at the moment. So let's just go on the battery. Try not to short anything out. Okay, 4.13 on the battery. So we know battery is going in. About 1.5 volts coming out. But we want the full 5 volts, 4 volts. Come on, leads are... probes are a little bit big for this. Right, got full voltage there. Got full voltage there. And if we go on the other side, swap the probe leads over. Right, we've got the full voltage there. Well, it looks to me like I could put a connector lead straight on those two tags. You might say, well, why don't I just connect straight onto the battery tags there anyway? The reason is I think there'll be some sort of over voltage and under voltage protection in this circuitry, and without actually looking it up and trying to work it out, I'm just guessing. Probably not the right thing to do, but a certain amount of logic says there ought to be some sort of voltage protection in there. And if we just go on the red and the black there, we should be on the correct side of the voltage protection. Or current protection, whichever it is. I'll put a couple of leads on there, JST connector, and see what happens. So before I do it, I'll just say what I'll do is I'll disconnect the white and the blue wires because we don't need them. They would go up to the heater element. And we'll disconnect the sensor, and we'll make use of the M minus and the M plus, which is upside down there, the M minus and M plus, because the one in the middle must be the trigger. All done. A little bit of soldering. So what we have here is my favourite sort of JST connector for the radio controlled cars and that sort of thing. Fairly standard. That has just gone onto the M minus and M plus, or M plus and M minus, depending on which way round you want to read it. So what I'm hoping, again, I will repeat, I haven't even attempted to look up the spec for the chips on here, but what I'm hoping is power goes in here, USB-C. That chip there gives us the pretty display while it's charging. And normally the power wouldn't come out to the heater element until the sensor detects it and it switches it on to the middle pin there. That's what I'm thinking happens. But because I connected directly onto the plus and minus there, this one will actually go straight into this thing and give us the 4.124 volts. So the only thing I can really do there is put that in something to run the power down and then check we can recharge it from there. But that's a nice little module, really. Nice and compact. Put a bit of that stuff around that battery so the pins on there don't make contact with anything. But that would be a nice little module, just like that. Wrap tape around it, or you could even put it into epoxy resin, couldn't you? As long as you keep that bit clear. But I like that. So if we, because that's fully charged, so we're not going to get much of a display, but if we plug that in, I don't know why that's saying 1. But that would appear to be saying it's charging it at the moment. Although we know it's fully charged. Well, if it catches fire in my hands, I've got my metal bucket just off the screen to the left. Because it's possible, because I've disconnected the sensor, that actually does have circuitry in it for battery management. But I was making the assumption that this isn't using it. Well, I'll leave that on a surface that can't catch fire, and we'll see what happens. Right, well, that seemed to work. It went up to 100% and switched itself off, which is good. So we'll now rig something up to run it down again. Right, first thing we'll do is disconnect that. It's telling us it was on 100%. See what that tells us. 4.16. Oh, there we are. We're okay. Well, that ran for much longer than I expected. So I ended up putting the time-lapse camera on it because the battery ran out on my normal camera, my phone. So we'll see how long it actually lasted for. And I'll put it back on charge now, see whether it charges back up again. All right, I'll put it back on charge. Nothing. Well, it looks like we've run it down so far that it doesn't want to recharge. So we might have to externally charge it. If that is the case and it's run down so far that it won't recharge, then it would seem that we didn't have over voltage or over discharge protection on there, which I was hoping that we did in one of those chips. But the fact that it's not showing any charge at the moment does rather indicate that there was no protection on it. We've run it right down, 1.6 volts. So that's why it doesn't want to recharge, because we've run it so far down. Okay, well, I'll have to charge that up separately so that it's usable. That's disappointing. I was hoping we'd have over discharge protection on there. I've boosted the battery up directly charging it. I think I've got about 3.3 in there. Let's have a look. All right, 3.15. That should be enough to tell it it's safe to charge it. So stick that back the other way up. We want it, don't we? So we can see the display. Yeah, it's happy now. It's back above the minimum charge. So I expect it will continue to charge now. I'll leave the time-lapse camera on it. I would guess that goes back to what I was saying, that the sensor does have, or at least I think it does have, the voltage protection circuitry in it. You'd have to have a look at the spec for that. I'll put a link in the video description to Toy Hacker's video looking at these. Well, if we're lucky, we'll see that click over to 100% in the next couple of minutes. So that's fully recharged from being over discharged. Can I get focus on that? No, no better than that. %. So it should switch itself off. There we go. Okay, let's disconnect that. And see what the meter thinks. 4.15 volts, 95%. I wouldn't read too much into that, but it gives us a reasonable idea of what it says it's got. So yeah, we can use it as a charger anyway. But from the way that I've got it wired up, we don't appear to have over discharge cut off on it. But you could wrap that up and that would be a nice little package for whatever you want to charge and discharge. The point is, this is free. I've got the little charger boards that you can buy in bulk from eBay, and I do use them. But the question was, could we use these? And the answer is, well, we certainly charged with it, but we didn't have over discharge control, which might be in there. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment so I know how I'm doing. And somewhere up here there'll be some links to related playlists. Thanks again.